With the draft moving closer and closer, the Bengals still hold the top pick in the second round, and we're still not entirely sure where the Bengals might go here. We're going to go over 5 players today that I've seen in a lot of mock drafts over the past couple of months of the Bengals selected here, and giving our thoughts on said players. Starting off with Zack Baun, the linebacker out of Wisconsin, currently the 3rd ranked linebacker, and he's a guy that is just an absolute play disruptor. 12.5 sacks last season. His ability to get to the edge on tackles and get to the QB is uncanny, and maybe even more enticing here is that the man's shown on numerous occasions that he can't blow up run plays between the tackles as well. I'm looking at this guy's games versus Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, the better teams out of the Big Ten that he did play this season. 5 of his 12 sacks came against those guys. That's important to me because anybody, I wouldn't say anybody, but it's a lot easier to inflate stats against the slack-off teams, the teams that are going 2-12, the non-conference opponents, but to see him go out there and perform against the best teams in the conference, teams with solid offensive lines, and still getting the job done is a big thumbs up for me here. And I gotta say, it's been a while since the last time the Bengals had a linebacker quite like this guy right here. Someone that can not only help this run defense, but adding this guy to the fray can create nightmares for offensive coordinators. When you consider they're already worrying about Hubbard, they're already worrying about Dunlap on the edges, I can only imagine the schemes that this team can draw up with this guy to get to the quarterback. Second here we have is Kenneth Murray, the linebacker out of Oklahoma, currently the 4th ranked guy on the NFL.com linebacker list again. And we talked about in a previous video about what position the Bengals need here in the second round. And we talked about if it was linebacker that they went after, it'd be ideal if this team could find a linebacker that has that ability to fly all over the field, make the big plays, record a lot of tackles, whether that be in the run game, the pass game, can just go out there and be a complete difference maker for this defense. And I think this has got Kenneth Murray written all over it. Now, Murray isn't the pass rusher that Baun is, but he is quicker, he's more athletic, he's been great at not only stopping the run, but he's a guy that's done really well blowing up plays in pass coverages as well. He's a guy that's had 2 straight seasons now with 100+ tackles, and I think he's the Bengals man here if they go linebacker. I would love to see what Baun could do for this team from a pass rush standpoint on this Bengals defense, but I don't know if that's the dire need for the Bengals here. Now, you can never have too many pass rushers. I'm all for getting as many pass rushes as possible. The difference that makes for the entire defense getting to that quarterback quickly, but we brought it up earlier about their edge rushers. The Bengals edge rushers, they're very good. I think Hubbard and Lawson, they're going to hold their own here in the future as well. They're going to be very well on those edges. So when you look at it from that standpoint and say, how badly do they need a linebacker that has a very good ability at rushing the quarterback there? I don't know if that's the first thing the Bengals are looking at, opposed to a guy here like Murray that can go out there and just be a complete difference maker on the field, be more of a field general per se type of linebacker in a guy like this. Then we have wide receiver Laviska Shenault out of Colorado. Shenault is the guy one of NFL analysts and many others have the Bengals taking in the second round. A man projected to be the 4th or 5th wideout off of the board here. I think it'll be interesting to see what the Bengals are thinking here, because after all the defensive adds this offseason, the Bengals could very well be looking to find something to help Joe Burrow and this offense in round 2, whether that be with the O-line or whether that be an offensive weapon over there at the wide receiver position. Personally, I'm up in the air about taking a wide receiver in the second round still. I mean, obviously, Green's not the future of this team, but Tate Boyd very well could be. John Ross could be a dynamic player if he can actually stay healthy. But if there was ever a guy that could persuade the Bengals into going wide out in round 2, it's this guy. He can do just about anything. He's great at going up and getting the ball, winning those tight battles, and that alone is something that I think is right in Joe Burrow's wheelhouse here, is signing a guy like that. But this guy has proven to be a deep threat and a guy that is very good at working the middle of the field and picking up a lot of yards after the catch. He's a guy you just want to get the ball into his hands type of player on that field. Colorado ran him out of the Wildcat quite a bit, and that's not something I expect Cincinnati to do, but it's a good sign that, again, the man can make some plays once he's got the ball in his hands. And not only that, we have to bring it up now with the injuries the Bengals have added so many years in these drafts lately. It is to me a sign that the guy does have a little bit of durability out there as well, that they trusted him in those between the tackle type of plays as well. So we'll see what the Bengals are thinking there. Then there's Cesar Ruiz, the guard slash center out of Michigan. Ruiz is the top graded center in the draft by NFL.com at the moment. And now granted, there are drafts that have him projected to possibly land on the Bengals. It's likely gonna be a tough stretch as a guy that has slotted in at guard and as center throughout his career. Nonetheless, the door does remain open open, as the O-line expected to be taken early in the draft are all tackles. So once you get to those later picks in the first round, anything could really happen here, because there's guys that fall to teams that are like, oh, we didn't expect him to fall here. All of a sudden, maybe that was one of the two teams or two, three teams that were looking at this guy are now picking somebody else in the draft because that guy fell to them unexpectedly, and all of a sudden, boom, he's on the board for the Bengals come the second round, and it could be a massive addition. Ruiz can be a big improvement right away in the run game, and we can expect his pass protection to improve more and more as he plays over time as well. The Bengals did just sign Suafilo off the Cowboys, but he was their backup, and it was a very friendly 3 years, $3 million per year deal for the Bengals. So having him as a backup for the Bengals is still completely in the cards and a possibility here. And if you're the Bengals, your number one priority here is getting Joe Burrow off to a good start. Now, whether that be with a good run game where it's a dominant run game where he doesn't have to throw the ball a lot and being able to, have a lineman that can excel at that, or whether it just be guys that can go out there and give him the protection he needs to pick apart defenses and get that pass game going as well. So it does bode the question on whether the Bengals are willing to take that chance on saying, all right, we're happy with the offensive line we have right now, as opposed to going out there and trying to pick up a couple more guys or one more guy to help improve that offensive line for the future. Then we have Austin Jackson, the offensive tackle out of USC. He's our final selection here. Obviously, there's a lot more guys out there on the board the Bengals could be going after. But again, the offensive line's in question here. Jackson is graded as the 5th-ranked offensive lineman in the draft right now. He's a very athletic guy that can handle the speed rush, but he still does have, a little technical work to be done here. But you expect something like that. You're going to let an offensive tackle slide to the second round. There's likely going to be a couple weaknesses there, and it's just a big question of what he can do. Just because he's got weaknesses doesn't mean it's not something he can work on, get better with, and improve and become a very good offensive tackle in this league. And with the Bengals seemingly continuing to struggle to find a replacement for the ageless wonder they let go to the Rams, the Bengals taking another stab at trying to roster two very good tackles here for the foreseeable future could be the call here. At the very least, it provides a little safety net here at a position I think the Bengals can ill afford to mess up here with their young quarterback at Dalham here. So overall, I'm looking, I think of the 5 position or 5 players, I'd say wide receiver is the least important here. I'm looking at, it's hard to look past the linebackers. I would love to have one of them. I think it's a difference maker for this defense. And I do think at the same time, though, you're talking linebacker. It's something you can get down the road. It's something you look at now and say, this can turn this defense around type of player, I think, at the same time. But are you looking at being a 12-4 team next season or an 8-8 team? And I think, the Bengals, let's be honest, it was 2-14 last season. I'd love to see it be 12-4. 8-8's probably a lot more likely, though, or 7-9 or 6-10. You don't know where they go. And for that reason, I think what's more important here is understanding you have a young quarterback and how important it is to get this guy off to the right start. So if it comes to the expense of potentially wasting a second-round pick on another offensive lineman that you could say, oh, we don't need, which I feel like they do need at this time, I think that is the route you have to go here, because you can't. Joe Burrow gets off to a great start. This offensive line plays great. Then guess what? Maybe the defense is the reason you lost games this year. That's fine. Go and pick up a linebacker next year. Might not be the same guys, but go and pick one up. Go and pick up a linebacker next year. At least that's better off than picking up a linebacker this year. Joe Burrow struggles this season mightily, and all of a sudden you start to question going into season 2 and season 3 whether he was a first-round bust. I want to see this guy get off to the best possible start here he possibly can. That is the number one goal for me as a Bengals fan, is seeing this guy get off to a good start, whatever it takes there. Interesting though. Love all the options here wherever the Bengals decide to go in the second round.